Good afternoon, sir, ma'am. My name is Servando, and I'm here to perform my inside inspection and my air brake check. Now, with my wheels shocked and my seatbelt on, I will make sure my engine is off, my tractor brakes yellow, my trailer brakes red on, my transmission in neutral. Now, first test I'm going to perform is the applied pressure 460. It must not drop more than 4 psi in Class A or 3 psi in Class B in 1 minute. To perform this test, I will turn the vehicle on and raise pressure to the governor cutout when the needle stops moving, and I will identify when it's done. To speed up the process, I will assist the air compressor and accelerate without exceeding 1500 RPMs. Governor cutout, needle stop moving on the primary gauge, needle stop at 129. On my secondary gauge, the needle stop at 126 psi. Now I'm going to shut the engine off, and I will turn the key back to the on position. Next, I'm going to release my tractor and release my trailer brakes and allow the pressure to stabilize. For the meantime, I'm going to use, sir, ma'am, my phone to time my minute. Okay, next I will press the brake pedal to the floor and hold firmly. Then I'm going to read the PSI on each gauge. Now my primary gauge reads 106 PSI. My secondary gauge reads 103 PSI. Now I'm starting my 60 seconds. So remember the sequence. You press, you hold, then you read your gauges, then you start your minute. Right now, 60 seconds gone by, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. All right, let's pretend my 60 seconds are up. Stop my watch, reading my PSI. Now, my primary gauge is reading 105 PSI, which I lost 1 PSI on my primary gauge. My secondary gauge reads 102 PSI. I lost 1 PSI also on my secondary gauge. Now I release the brakes. And I confirm this test by telling my examiner, indicating that this test is good, because I didn't lose more than 4 psi in 60 seconds. Now it's complete. Next test I'm going to perform is the low air warning device. My low air warning device should activate no lower than 55 psi. This is the reason why I need the key to the on position. Now, to perform this test, I will lower the pressure by pumping on the brakes until I hear an alarm, see a light, or both. Okay, my lower warning device activated, light and alarm came on. On my primary gauge, came on at 70 psi. On my secondary gauge, light and alarm came on at 69 psi, which makes this a good test because my low air warning device activated no lower than 55 psi. Next, I will continue with my emergency spring brakes pop out. It should activate between 20 and 45 psi. On this test, I will continue lowering the pressure by pumping on the brakes until both brakes pop out. All right, my both brakes pop out. On my primary gauge, the brakes pop out at 31 psi. On my secondary gauge, the brakes pop out at 31 psi as well, which makes this a good test because my emergency spring brakes pop out between 20 and 45 psi. Now I'm gonna step outside the vehicle to unchuck my wheels. I'm just pretending. So going outside, bring my wheels inside the truck and continue with my safe start, which consists in putting back my seatbelt on, closing the initial key, checking, make sure my tractor and my trailer brakes are set, make sure my transmission is in neutral. Now I will go ahead and start the engine. Now while I wait for my pressure to rise to the governor cutout, I'm going to continue with my cab inspection. Number one is my light indicators. So I'm checking my ABS light, turn signal must work. Checking my four-way flashes must work. My high beams indicators must work. Next, my oil gauge must be working between 40 to 60 psi or normal operating range. My temperature gauge must be working between 180 to 190 degrees for a normal operating range. My voltmeter must work between 12 and 14 volts. My air gauges must work. I will build pressure to the government cutout between 120 140 psi or manufacturer specifications. Now checking on my heater and my defroster must work properly. Then I will check on my horns, make sure they both work. This is my electric horn. This is my air horn right here. Now checking on my mirrors. I'll make sure they're both clean and adjusted properly from the inside. Then I'm going to check on my windshield and my rear window. Make sure there's no illegal stickers, obstructions, or damage. Now checking on my wipers and washers. Make sure the arms and blades are secure, they're not damaged, they operate smoothly. Now I'll make sure that my washer works. Then I'm checking on my emergency equipment, which consists in at least 3 items. Spare electrical fuses are located on the overhead compartment. 3 reflector rectangles are located under the passenger seat. And the fire extinguisher must be properly charged and securely mounted. It is located under the driver's seat. Then checking on my safety belt, make sure it's securely mounted, it adjusts, latches properly, if it's not ripped or frayed. Now, I'm going to continue with my brake test. With my engine on, my governor got out, needle stop moving. Checking my tractor brakes, my trailer brakes, make sure they're on. And my transmission, I will put my transmission in first gear. Now, I'm going to test the tractor brakes yellow first by releasing the trailer brakes. So you push it in to release, slowly move the vehicle forward. I will engage the clutch. You feel that? As you can see, the vehicle did not move, indicating that my tractor brake is functioning. Now I'm going to test my trailer brakes red by now applying my trailer brakes and releasing the tractor brakes, and slowly move the vehicle forward. You can see the vehicle did not move, indicating that my trailer brakes are functioning properly. Now I will test the servo's brake pedal by not releasing both tractor and trailer brakes, but for safety I will step on the brake pedal first, then release tractor, release trailer brakes, and slowly move the vehicle forward at 5 miles per hour without holding on the steering wheel to check on the alignment. So moving forward, pretending we're not going anywhere. Pretending moving forward, then I apply the brakes. Once I apply the brakes, the vehicle stopped and did not pull to either side, just left, right, indicating that my alignment and my servo's brake pedal are functioning properly. Now to finalize this test for safety, I will apply my tractor and my trailer brakes, and I will put my transmission in neutral. I will shut the engine off, and I will turn the key back to the on position. And at this point, since we haven't checked the lights, this is when I ask the examiner, male, female, sir, ma'am, would you please step outside for me? I need help checking my turn signals, my four-wheel flashers, my high beams, my headlights, my brake lights. We're checking the lights in front of the vehicle as well as the back of the vehicle. Then once we check the lights, this concludes the inside inspection. Okay, you can cut it out. So you see,